Hi everyone and welcome to today's interview. We have the lovely Franziska Spritzler, is that how I say it, I hope?
Absolutely, perfect.
Right, with us today all the way from Southern California. And I was so lucky to meet this like-minded dietitian in 2014 when she came to a low-carb conference here in Melbourne. So Franziska is, of course, a dietitian, and she is also a diabetes educator, but she's taken a really keen interest in the area of health and beauty and how you can possibly use a low-carb approach to diet to slow down the aging process. And so we're going to have a chat to her about that whole area today, and hopefully you'll find this extremely interesting. And so to get the ball rolling, I'm going to get Franziska to give you a little bit of background as to how she lands up speaking about this particular area and how she lands up as a low-carb dietitian. So welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Vicki. I'm thrilled to be here. And yeah, I'll just give you a little background for those of you that don't know me. I live in Southern California, as Vicki said, and I became a dietitian, gosh, 10 years ago, actually. I became a dietitian in 2008. I went back to school a little later in life for a second career, and I was a very traditional dietitian for several years. And then I found out that my own blood sugar was going to dangerously high levels after eating by measuring them. I had no clue before that, except that I was hungry a lot in between meals, and it wouldn't necessarily give a lot of people the clue that their blood sugar was high. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But once I discovered that I can control my blood sugar with cutting back on carbohydrates significantly, I began really doing a lot of research into people who had used this approach to control diabetes and to do a lot of other things that improve their health. And I never really looked back. I left my position in a hospital. I started working on my own. And over the last few years, I've discovered that not only does it help to control blood sugar, but it can actually help you to look and feel better, and in many ways slow down the aging process. So I'm delighted to be talking to Vicki about that today, and I'm glad you're all here to join us.
Fantastic. So before we go into the full-blown questions, everyone, you'll see that I've put a link to Franziska's book up above this interview. And so we have a published author with us today, but not only is Franziska published in regards to this book, she's contributed to a number of publications, and you can also catch her on numerous podcasts. There's been multiple interviews, and she has her own blog, which is called the Low Carb, or just Low Carb Dietitian.com. So definitely check all that out and check her book out, The Low Carb Dietitian's Guide to Health and Beauty. So it sounds fabulous, but let's get into this. I mean, just when we were having a little bit of a chat prior to this interview, you said, we're all going to age, of course, but maybe there are some things that we can do that are going to slow that aging process, or maybe that we can do so that we do this a little bit more gracefully. So maybe we can start the ball rolling with that as an angle.
I think that's perfect. And, I really teach people to be proud of their age, because as I said, you're going to age no matter what. And I have friends, I'm 51, I have friends who absolutely will not tell anyone their age. They hide it, they do everything they can. And I say, you know what, you should really be proud of the years that you've lived and look at it as, you're maturing. Not you're getting older, but you're maturing. And getting mature is a good thing. Being immature is not a good thing. As you get older, you get wiser, you learn from your own experiences and that of others. So I just try to embrace the aging and do it in a way where, you laugh at the things that maybe other people might cry about, like maybe noticing little changes in your hands, or in my own case, I noticed that my hands were starting to feel like my mother's. And, but you kind of laugh about these things and just be so happy and thankful that we live in a time where we know what we can do to look and feel our best as we get older. So I really do try to tell everyone to kind of focus on what they can do to be their best and not to compare themselves to others as we age, because a lot of it is genetic. But there's also a good part that is lifestyle based. So you just do the very best you can. And this also goes along with weight loss. As you've noticed, I'm sure, Vicki, working with people, some people lose more quickly, have an easier time keeping it off once they've lost weight. You just do the best that you can for you. And it goes the same with aging. You do everything you can, and, and then just be graceful about what you can't change.
Yeah. So one of the big things I think when we age is that people think that, or they're often maybe even told that a natural part of aging is putting on weight, so weight gain. And this is often blamed on a slowing metabolic rate. And what are your thoughts around those sorts of comments, and what's your angle on this?
Well, again, weight gain as we get older, some of it is genetic. If your mom put on a lot of weight as she got older, you're probably going to have the same tendency to do so. Doesn't mean that you will, but there's just some people who, they battle their way through their life, and other people tend to have more of a problem as they get older. One of the things that happens as we get older is we do tend to lose muscle mass, and that starts happening as early as our 30s. We actually start to slow down our metabolic rate because we have less muscle. The muscles are basically the most active cells. The mitochondria and the muscles, they're burning the most energy. As we get older, we lose muscle cells unless we do something to counteract it. And there's been a lot of research recently into telomeres, and those are the end caps at your ends of your chromosomes. Every time your cells divide, all of the genetic replication in your DNA needs to be done with each new cell division. As you get older, those telomeres get smaller, shorter and shorter. And after a while, the cells simply cannot replicate. And when you lose cells, that starts the aging process. You're also losing muscle cells. The fewer muscle cells you have, the lower your metabolic rate. So that is something that occurs. Also, as you get older, you tend to become less sensitive to insulin. And insulin has kind of gotten a bad rap. Insulin is a very good thing. Without insulin, we couldn't survive. Anyone with type 1 diabetes can tell you that. We need some insulin in order to allow glucose or sugar to enter our blood. To enter our cells from the blood. But if we have too much insulin, that can cause problems with weight gain. And in fact, what happens is if your blood sugar is high, your body is doing everything it can to lower that blood sugar. So it sends out more insulin, and if your cells are resistant to it, that sometimes don't hear that excess insulin, and it becomes higher and higher. You have higher and higher levels of insulin, and that causes you to gain weight, and it makes it almost impossible to lose weight when your insulin levels are very high. So all of these things tend to happen as we get older. We may also have some injuries that force us to be less active, or some stress going in our life where we just don't take as good care of ourselves and exercise the way we should and eat the way we should. So all of those things can contribute to gaining weight, but it's not inevitable. There are things you can do to counteract that and actually stay at a healthy weight as we age.
And insulin sensitivity is something that we speak about a lot on this 6-week low carb challenge. And I really try and emphasize the things that we can do about it in our day-to-day living. So obviously, if we become less sensitive to insulin, one of the implications is that blood sugars rise, or might rise for an extended period of time. In terms of the aging process, are there direct implications related to the aging process with a decreased insulin sensitivity?
Absolutely, both internally and externally. Internally, higher blood sugar levels can damage your nerves and blood vessels. So people with diabetes, especially, that run very high blood sugar levels, they tend to have dysfunction in their kidneys and eye damage and things like that. But even people who don't have diabetes, even having elevated blood sugar levels, slightly elevated, has been linked to an aging function in the body. And externally, blood sugar can cause wrinkling of your skin, because you get these things called advanced glycation end products, which is When your blood sugar is high, it attaches to, it connects with fats and proteins in your system, and they can no longer work the way they're designed to. So things just don't, there's a lot of dysfunction inside, a lot of inflammation, but it also contributes to skin aging on the outside. And you can actually see it in people with poorly controlled blood sugar over time. They tend to look a lot older, and they tend to have a lot more chronic problems, including fatty liver, and I mentioned like the renal disease and also eye disease in people who have really poor blood sugar control. But it can happen in people with pre-diabetes as well. You don't have to necessarily have full-blown diabetes to see these problems. So yeah, having unstable blood sugars, one of the least healthy things, and a lot of people are unaware of their blood sugar. Unless you're testing it, you really don't know what's going on, and you may just chalk it up to being exhausted from stress or anything else. But many times having uncontrolled blood sugar can be one of the leading signs of aging.
Yeah, and that was something that I remember you speaking about specifically in 2014, that if you went and just had a fasting blood sugar level done, you were actually okay from memory. But it was only when you tested your blood sugars following a meal that that really opened your eyes to your reduced sensitivity. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. And in fact, if I hadn't been doing my own testing, no doctor was going to look at me and think that I had any problem, because I'm at a good healthy weight and my fasting blood sugar was normal. So they had no idea what was going on after meals. And I think a lot of people have that false sense of security. It's like, my fasting blood sugar is fine, I'm fine. And yet you are actually possibly causing some long-term damage after meals if you're eating like a standard, quote unquote, healthy low-fat diet.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's such a great point. And, if people out there listening to this, what that involves is having one of those blood glucose monitors and just testing your blood sugars, say, an hour or 2 hours following a meal, and tracking what is actually happening. And are those levels going up too high, or are they staying within the recommended realm? So that's a great tip for people to think about. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we spoke about, speaking about how blood sugars can impact skin and give you that more wrinkled appearance. You mentioned to me that you had recently done some more research around collagen loss and damage in regards to skin appearance. And how does that all fit into this equation?
Yeah, so collagen is really, it's the primary protein in your skin. And I like to say it's like the bricks of your skin, and elastin is the cement of your skin. So both of them are important. You have a lot more collagen though. Starting, I would say, really in your 30s, but it accelerates as you get older and closer to menopause. You start to produce less collagen, and it can also become damaged by unhealthy food choices, pollution, sun damage, stress. All of these things just eat away at your collagen and can cause damage. And it's very apparent, years later when you look at a woman who hasn't really taken care of her skin. It's mainly due to collagen loss. And fortunately, a healthy diet can go a long way toward making sure that you preserve the collagen that you have. You are going to lose some. That's the thing. After menopause, you're going to lose some collagen because estrogen has a very strong effect on collagen production. So if you have less estrogen in your system, which we're designed to do, that's my other point, is artificially elevating your estrogen levels or growth hormone or other levels as you get older is not a wise practice. It really isn't. Older people are not designed to have high levels of those hormones, and it can backfire on you. And actually, in some cases, can cause insulin resistance, certain hormones. But at any rate, preserving the collagen by protecting your skin from sun, eating well, managing stress, and staying well hydrated, all of those things can really help to keep the collagen that you have and keep the production as high as you can as you get older, and to prevent the damage to that collagen.
Okay, great. And I mean, we're obviously speaking low carb. So when we say healthy diet, for us, we're going, this is a lower carbohydrate diet. But are there any specific low carb foods that you can say definitely have more impact?
Yes, actually. Fatty fish is number one. So fatty fish, and people in this group probably already know, you've already promoted it, but things like salmon, sardines, mackerel, herring, anchovies, those are the best ones. So those have the omega-3 fats, and these fats are extremely beneficial toward countering inflammation. Salmon and some of the other fish that are colored kind of that orangey color too, have a certain antioxidant called anthoxanthine. I believe that's how you pronounce it. But that has also been shown to help reduce skin wrinkling and to help preserve collagen. So fatty fish is the number one. Avocado has special fatty acids that help to protect your skin from sun damage, which is wonderful. And they've also got monounsaturated fat, which is good for your health and controlling inflammation on the inside. There's so many good foods. I'll just go through a couple others. And then if you want to drink something good for you, green tea is fantastic. It's great for blood sugar and insulin sensitivity, but it also helps to protect your skin from sun damage, helps to repair sun damage. And then the last one that I'll just talk about now, I mean, the vegetables are great too, dark chocolate. Dark chocolate has more antioxidants than any other food, and it also has sun protection for your skin. So you definitely cover up if you're out there, and Australia gets a lot of sun just like we do here. So cover up, put whatever sun protection you feel comfortable on and wear a hat, but then also to boost that, eat the healthy foods to help to protect your skin as well.
Yeah, those are great. And we love all four of those here. So yeah, we'll definitely be promoting those even more reason to be having those in your diet.
Exactly. I just picked the yummiest ones, but yes, also, I mean, there's a lot of delicious vegetables too, and berries are good in moderation too. So yeah.
Brilliant. So this one's particularly for the ladies, and dealing with hot flushes. And I've read some bits on your blog where you've referenced, and I'm going to look at his name so I get it right, and it's Dr. Larry McCleary's book, where he speaks about the Brain Trust program. And can you maybe explain this a little bit more and how this might relate to people who are at that stage and are experiencing hot flushes, or maybe it's a few years and we're all going to be there. So yeah.
Right. Well, you know what's really interesting is that I wrote these blog posts a while ago. I couldn't believe it when I looked at it. It was even before our conference. I wrote those like 5 years ago. And I've tried to contact Dr. McCleary since then, because I wrote another article for on another blog about menopause, and I really wanted to talk to him, but he has retired and there's no way to get a hold of him. So I really wanted to clarify a few things I didn't understand. But what my understanding is that when women have hot flashes, it's similar, although on a much lower scale, to what children who have epilepsy experience. Their brains aren't able to use glucose correctly. And so the body, in a mistaken attempt to get more sugar into the brain, actually releases some hormones, stress hormones, that cause you to increase your blood sugar. So you're having more sugar in your blood, but not in your brain where it's needed. So instead, your brain can actually function on ketones, just like the children who have epilepsy who use a ketogenic diet. Your brain can use ketones. You don't need to be on as strict a diet as these children do either, which is like 10 grams of carb a day. If you're on a low carb diet and you're getting plenty of fat and you're keeping a moderate protein intake, you will be producing enough ketones for your brain to use it if it cannot use the glucose. So this is what he says, and he actually recommends pretty much all the foods we were talking about as well in the context of a very low carb healthy diet, and also supplementing with some MCT oil and coconut oil and those things to further increase ketone levels. But he says it's great. I have to be honest, I'm through menopause now. I started, I believe, my transition took a while, probably 6 or 7 years, but I'm done as of this year. And I had hardly any hot flashes. I felt a little bit warmer in summer when I drank my tea than usual, but I didn't have a severe problem with them. And I believe it's because I've been low carb for so many years, I think it's fantastic. So I'm not on a very strict ketogenic diet, but I do have ketones when I measure. I know I at least have enough to keep my brain happy and not experience them. So I'm a huge fan, and I've seen it happen in a lot of other women as well who go through menopause. The ones that are doing a very low carb diet tend to have a lot fewer hot flashes and symptoms of menopause in general.
Wow, that is really good news. And I'm sure there's many people who are taking that on board and using it as motivation right now. And I know certainly for myself, I'm not quite there yet, but hoping that when I do arrive there, that my symptoms are going to be far less, having been doing this way of eating for quite a number of years now. So
yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, there is a genetic component, again, I can't say just because you go on low carb keto, you're going to not have any hot flashes. If your mom had severe ones, you probably will, but you can minimize whatever you would have had on a regular diet. I think that's the important thing to look at, is you can minimize it. And then there's some other, stress reduction techniques you can use, maybe acupuncture and a few other things you can do. You're still having hot flashes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've spoken about lowering carbs, and we did mention the fish and the omega-3s, but are there any other reasons for eating more fat, and maybe the saturated fats and any of that can implicate aging or have an impact on aging?
Yeah, I think just in general, making sure that your diet contains a lot of healthy, natural fats. Because when we say a high fat diet, you could do a low carb diet very unhealthfully too. You can use a lot of processed vegetable oils, fry your food in them, create even more damaged oils. They're already damaged when they're in the supermarket, and then they become even more damaged if you heat them. If you use healthy fats, that can, I believe, give your skin a more dewy appearance, definitely, as you get older. A lot of women have been following a low-fat diet for a while. And when they switch to a lower carb, higher fat diet, they notice a difference in their skin. It's just, it may be a subtle difference. It's not, a huge difference usually, but just it seems smoother. It seems more vibrant. And, on a low carb diet, it is by definition a high fat diet. There's only so much protein that you can eat. So when you cut back on carbs, you automatically will be increasing your fat intake, making sure that you get healthy fats, including saturated fats, can keep your skin nice. They've done some studies. It's really hard to do diet studies on people with aging because you have to look over many years. But observational studies have looked at women, and those with the highest fat intake of natural fats found in dairy and olive oil, coconut oil, they tend to have the nicest skin, the least wrinkling, the best hydration, and even less age spots. So I believe that getting enough fats from some of those foods that we mentioned that have sun protection is part of it, and can also help to keep the collagen healthy.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much. Any other last tips or tricks or anything that you'd like to let people in on?
Well, again, I just say embrace the aging process. Truly, don't let it get you down, because I think I'm 51, and I think like 50 is the new 30. It really is. We're going to be living a long time. You can do whatever you want. Listen to your body and relax and give yourself a break, and don't push yourself. Never compare yourself to your 20-year-old self. That is the worst thing that you can do. We're never going to look 20 again. It's okay. Think about all you've accomplished since then, and all you have left to do, and how you can impact others' lives. And I think aging is great. I would not trade the age that I am now to go back in time for anything. I'm much happier now and more confident. So do this, and just, take care of yourself every day. Do the things you love, eat well, have good relationships, and exercise. We didn't really talk about that, but do something you love. That's really important. Do not force yourself to go to the gym if you hate going to the gym. That's me. Some people enjoy it so much, and think that's fabulous. But if you don't find something that you love to do and do it often, that will definitely help to slow down the aging process and keep you happier too. And the people around you.
Oh yeah. Brilliant. Well, I love all of those. And thank you so much. That's been fantastic and really insightful, and other things to keep us motivated, inspired to continue with this way of life. So thanks so much for your time. I'm sure it's appreciated by everyone.
Well, thank you so much. I had such a good time. I can't believe we're done already. It was wonderful. Thank you.
I will see you soon.
Okay, thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.